What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because today, we're going to uncover a story that history tried to erase. A story about a black teenager who changed the course of history, but whose name was nearly forgotten. We all know about Rosa Parks, the woman who became the face of the Montgomery bus boycott. But what if I told you that 9 months before Rosa Parks, it was actually a 15-year-old black girl who first said no? Her name was Claudette Colvin, and without her, the civil rights movement might not have looked the same. Yet for decades, her name was buried in the shadows. It was March 2, 1955. Claudette Colvin, a young high school student in Montgomery, Alabama, was riding the bus home after school. She had just learned about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in class, and she carried those words with her like a spark. That day, the bus filled up. White passengers stood in the aisle, and the driver barked out the usual order: "Black passengers, give up your seats." Most obeyed, because they knew what could happen if they resisted. But Claudette didn't move. She held her ground. Her classmates whispered for her to get up, but she refused. When the driver threatened her, she told him she had paid her fare, and that it was her constitutional right to remain seated. Police were called. Imagine that, a 15-year-old girl, in her school clothes, being dragged off the bus in handcuffs for daring to sit where she had every right to sit. She cried out, "It's my constitutional right." As they forced her away, she was arrested, booked, and treated like a criminal, all because she challenged the system of segregation. Now, here's the part that history tried to erase. Claudette wasn't just a random act of rebellion. She later became one of the original plaintiffs in the landmark case Browder vs. Gale, the lawsuit that finally struck down bus segregation in Montgomery and across the United States. That's right, a teenager's act of courage helped end legalized bus segregation in America. But why don't we know her name? Why was her story buried? The truth is complicated and painful. Civil rights leaders at the time were strategic. They wanted a face for the movement that America could not ignore, someone who would gain sympathy from the press and from the wider public. Claudette, at just 15, was considered too young, too rebellious, too poor. Soon after her arrest, she became pregnant, and the movement's leaders feared that white media would attack her character and dismiss the cause. So instead, when Rosa Parks, an older, respected, light-skinned, church-going woman, refused to give up her seat later that same year, leaders rallied behind her. Rosa Parks became the symbol, while Claudette Colvin's bravery was pushed into the background. But erasure does not equal insignificance. Claudette was the spark, the one who showed the world that even a teenager could resist injustice. Without her, maybe Rosa Parks wouldn't have been seen as part of a growing resistance. Without her, maybe the bus boycott wouldn't have gained the same momentum. History chose to erase her, but the truth is, she changed the world. Think about it. A 15-year-old black girl stood up, or rather, sat down, against one of the most powerful systems of oppression in the United States. She paid a heavy price, being treated as a criminal, being shamed, being forgotten. But her act of defiance planted a seed that grew into one of the most important movements for justice in American history. Today, when we say Rosa Parks, we should also say Claudette Colvin. When we celebrate the Montgomery bus boycott, we should remember the teenager who first refused to give up her seat. Because real history is never neat. It's complicated, messy, and full of unsung heroes whose names deserve to be spoken. So the next time someone tells you about Rosa Parks, remember Claudette. A black teenager who changed the world, even though they erased her name.